I was homeschooled starting in second grade after the holiday break. I remember that day very well. I was sitting on the playground outside in our backyard, and my mom looked at me and she said, "Kaitlyn, how would you like to stay home and be homeschooled?" I was absolutely thrilled. It was such an exciting experience for me to be able to choose my own destiny. And I loved learning about music and science. And so being able to foster that love for learning throughout my academic career was truly a wonderful experience.
Welcome to Homeschool Talks, a podcast by HSLDA. This is a show about all things homeschooling, from practical tips to inspiring stories and everything in between. You can find show notes for this episode along with our other Homeschool Talks conversations at hslda.org/podcast. And if you want to be the first to know about new episodes as well as upcoming guests and topics, sign up for our email list using the link in the show notes. We're so glad you've joined us today, and we hope you enjoyed the program. Here's your host, Jim Mason.
Hi, I'm Jim Mason, President of Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and this is another episode of Homeschool Talks, where I get to talk to interesting people out there in homeschooling land. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by my guest, Kaitlyn Bajek. She's a homeschool graduate who has gone on to do great things. Welcome, Kaitlyn.
Thanks for having me today, Jim.
Where are you talking to us from today?
So I am actually talking to you today from Walt Disney World.
That's what your background is kind of interesting. Is that a Walt Disney?
This is from Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. This is where I'm coming to you from. But I currently reside on the coast of South Carolina.
Okay. And is that where you're from, South Carolina? Is that where you grew up?
I grew up in many different cities. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, Charlotte, North Carolina, Darien, Connecticut, and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So I've been all over.
So that sounds like a Johnny Cash song. What prompted your family to move you all over the place?
So what prompted my family to move us all around the place is because of my mom's job. She works in corporate America. And so depending on where she needed to go, we would go there for a few years, as well as we had family in Connecticut, which we still do, as well as family in Colorado. So we love to diversify our time. And we spent several summers growing up in the Denver, Colorado area.
So my notes here say that you were homeschooled growing up, moving all over the country. Tell us about your growing up homeschool experience.
Absolutely, Jim. So I was homeschooled starting in second grade after the holiday break. I remember that day very well. I was sitting on the playground outside in our backyard, and my mom looked at me and she said, "Kaitlyn, how would you like to stay home and be homeschooled?" I was absolutely thrilled. It was such an exciting experience for me to be able to choose my own destiny and to be able to really learn about things that were passionate to me. I loved learning about music and science. And so being able to foster that love for learning throughout my academic career was truly a wonderful experience. We had such a great time as homeschoolers. Instead of just reading about it in a textbook, we went to those monuments. We went to the Arch of St. Louis and we went to Mount Rushmore, and we got to see those in person.
As a second grader, you internalized all of those feelings right then and there on the playground in your backyard?
I did, actually. I was truly excited because it meant that I got to spend more time at home with my family, which I love doing. I got to spend time with my brother, who is 3 years younger than me. And so we got to grow up learning together. And I was just so excited to be able to help pick what I could learn about. And I remember, too, after the holiday break on our first day of homeschooling, we baked muffins that morning. And so we got to do that, and we turned it into like a bit of a science experiment in math. So like, what's a quarter of a cup versus a full cup and all of that. So we truly made every single learning experience.
So as you progressed in your homeschooling experience, what things did you learn as you got older?
What I learned as I got older was that learning doesn't just take place from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Learning happens all around us. It happens when we go to the grocery store and we have to make decisions on, do we want organic or regular? Do we want to use our money this way or that way? And so what I continued to learn throughout my homeschooling experience as I started to get older was that it's okay to think outside of the box.
What advantages did that give you growing up? You said you had an interest in music.
That's a great question, Jim. And what that truly did for me was to be able to really inspire me to pursue music. I was a nationally competitive classical pianist for over 10 years. And so I got to foster my love for music. I got to perform in different churches. Actually speaking, my first job in high school was as a substitute church organist. And I think that's a pretty unique first job. And so being homeschooled truly allowed me the opportunity to do things outside of the box. I got to learn about things in a creative way, not just by reading about it in a textbook, being able to experience it and being able to experience it with my homeschool community. When I was a sophomore in high school, I was student council president. And so I got to make a positive impact in my homeschool community by thinking of creative ways to make it so that homeschoolers from low income households could actually attend the student soiree and to be able to host a talent show, to be able to raise funds for those homeschoolers who couldn't afford to go. So my homeschooling journey truly allowed me to be able to learn to think outside of the box and to think about things from a not just me standpoint, but as a collective standpoint of how is this going to impact my community.
So moving around a lot, I moved around a lot as a kid too, and we were in public schools. I imagine your experience as a homeschooled kid moving around a lot was different. How was that for you moving around as a child?
It was actually truly wonderful. We got to meet up with many different homeschool associations. We got to make friends from all over the United States. We got to join the homeschooling groups in Florida and in Colorado and South Carolina, of course, and we got to truly grow those deep bonds. And one of those deep bonds in South Carolina, where I actually graduated from Low Country Homeschool Association, I am now serving as the deputy director for them to be able to volunteer my time to give back to my homeschool community. So I love being able to meet up with different homeschoolers. I'm still in touch with a lot of them today from growing up. And so I just love to be able to serve my homeschool community.
So Low Country Homeschool Association, what was that in existence when you moved into South Carolina, and now you've moved into leadership there?
Yes, it has been around for many years. Myself and Donna Cartwright is the director. And when I was in my senior year of college, it was during the height of lockdown. And at Liberty University, they required their students to have an internship. And unfortunately, during the height of lockdown, not a lot of people wanted to hire interns at that time. So I decided to be creative and I reached out to my old homeschool association and I said, "Hi, I don't know if you remember me, Kaitlyn, but I'm a senior at Liberty University and I really need an internship." And so Donna was absolutely fantastic. She allowed me to complete my internship through Low Country, where I helped to navigate the homeschooling process for current and future homeschoolers, as well as offer curriculum advice, as well as socialization advice.
That was during the height of the COVID lockdowns?
Yes.
How did they affect the Low Country Association?
Our numbers grew dramatically. We saw such an influx of homeschoolers. I would be hosting Zoom calls for Homeschool 101 to be able to help families learn about the very basics of homeschooling. Like generally speaking, a homeschool association does not provide you with curriculum. You have to find that for yourself, as well as giving them like a snippet of figuring out how do I look for curriculum? Because a lot of them, they don't know. When you Google homeschool curriculum, you have over 1 million results pop up. That's overwhelming. And so being able to help them refine their search I created this flow chart for them. They had to answer one question and then another, and then they had a more refined outcome for what they wanted. And so we did Homeschool 101 sessions, as well as I did one-on-one homeschool consultation calls as well.
And how's Low Country Association doing now in the post-COVID years?
We are doing beautifully. I worked on my dissertation specifically on Low Country Homeschool Association, and our numbers are still growing strong. We have a great community. We have several different co-ops under our homeschool association, and we just continue to grow and flourish.
So you went from high school as a homeschool graduate to Liberty University. What did you study there?
I studied psychology at Liberty University.
And that led you to found a medical software company, eh?
That is correct.
So how did you get from Liberty as a psychology graduate to starting your own company? And tell us about your company.
Absolutely. So how that worked out was throughout when I was younger, I had a disability, and not a lot of doctors could figure out what was wrong with me until we found one doctor that truly just clicked. And it was an uncommon one that not a lot of doctors had heard of, but we worked it out. And then I decided that, I want to dedicate my life to helping those who have medical disabilities or conditions that need help, and to be able to make it so that it's not scary for a child to receive testing to be able to achieve their academic goals as well as their future goals. So to be able to take a screening, and it's not a screening like a scary medical one. It's actually just a game that they're playing in a medical software environment. So they're just playing a game, and then their doctor gets the results to that game. And I've partnered with that doctor, and together we've co-founded this company, and I've had an incredible experience with that. We've been talking about it for so many years, and especially being able to help pediatric. And then after I graduated with my doctorate last October, I truly got to spend more time working on this, and we've just continued to grow ever since.
So you went from Liberty, you mentioned a doctorate. Where did you go to get your doctorate?
I went to Capella University to get my doctorate in education, as well as my Master of Science in Psychology. And with my Master's of Science in Psychology, my thesis was on children with dysautonomia and how that impacts their psychosocial well-being.
What is dysautonomia?
Dysautonomia is let's say that you are made up of wires in your body, and so you have faulty wiring. So sometimes dysautonomia can mean that when you go to stand up, your heart rate can increase by 40 beats per minute, which can cause you to feel dizzy or to even faint sometimes.
So then you wrote a dissertation about Low Country Homeschool Association.
Yes, I did.
And what was your dissertation about?
My dissertation was about homeschoolers educating at the high school level and determining what are their future plans exactly. That's great. They're just about to graduate high school, but what's your next move? And so I got to research what exactly do they want to do and what resources do they have to be able to succeed.
And how did you approach that study?
So I did what is called a qualitative study. So a qualitative study means that it's an interview, just like you and I are having right now, Jim, where we're having a conversation. And so I performed a qualitative study with first a smaller group of 5 homeschool families, and I interviewed them to find out more about them. What are their homeschool goals? What are their future planning goals? And then to determine what do they need to succeed after they graduate from high school.
And what did you learn from that qualitative study?
I learned that more and more homeschoolers are choosing to go an untraditional route for their future plans. We saw increases in numbers of those choosing to go to college online. We've seen an increase in trade school enrollments, and we've seen an increase in those choosing to serve in the military.
What do you attribute that to?
I attribute that to homeschoolers thinking outside the box. Not everybody wants to go to a brick and mortar institution for 4 years, especially homeschool graduates, because we've learned to become very accustomed to our flexibility and our freedom to be able to go where we want and to be able to go and see things. And so I've seen that online schooling has become a more popular option for homeschool graduates to be able to continue to learn at their own pace, as well as continue to go and see things outside of the classroom.
And how does this study? I mean, how would people find this if they wanted to read it or see a summary of it?
So actually, Dr. Duvall from HSLDA and I are currently working together to publish different portions of this research study to be able to share with the homeschool community, as well as we're currently working on conducting 2 other research studies as we speak.
Oh, what are those about?
So one of them is going to be on homeschool groups and how that works for a homeschool family. So do their confidence levels increase or decrease after joining a homeschool group? And the second study is on the membership community. So the leaders of a homeschool association and how the membership process works. So do they have a screening that they have to go through for new homeschool family applicants, or is it just a application and you pay your $50 for the year, or do they have to be interviewed? Do they have to go through different hoops?
And I imagine that's a more complicated endeavor today than it was maybe 5, 6 years ago with the advent of new things like micro schools and pods. Are you trying to discriminate again between the different kinds of new innovative groups?
Absolutely. In our research study, we're going to be conducting a survey for homeschool families from HSLDA actually to join and participate so that we can learn more about their homeschool community. So, for example, have their confidence levels increased because they joined a micro school, or have they increased because they joined a homeschool co-op, and being able to clearly define the two, because the two micro schools and homeschool co-ops are just very different.
Well, what is your role now with the Low Country Homeschool Association?
At the moment, I serve as deputy director, where I help to serve the homeschool families, specifically educating at the high school level to be able to navigate future planning, work with the universities. I have contacts at over 20 different universities now listed on the Low Country website, so that then they don't have to just email admissions@university.edu. They actually have a person, not a robot, that they can talk to, as well as I help future homeschool families who are looking to enroll but don't know where to start, as well as when they feel like, I'm going to fail my child's not going to succeed in life. And then that's where I come in and I share, I'm not a homeschool parent, but I'm a homeschool graduate, and I can share what it was like for me to be homeschooled.
I imagine that a lot of moms of high school age kids really appreciate the work that you do. What's the volume of calls and contacts that you have?
So at the moment, I receive about 5 calls a week from different low country parents, and I receive about 10 emails a week. It just depends on the time of year. For example, right now is a bit more of a busier season because of the fact that they're starting to do the college application process. And so I receive more emails about that, as well as learning about dual enrollment. A lot of them went, oh my gosh, what's dual enrollment? How do I do that? And is it important, dual enrollment? And does my child need dual enrollment? And so I'm able to help guide them through that process to be able to hold their hand and show it's not scary to homeschool through the high school years.
Do you have any association with actual high school homeschool students?
Yes, I do.
What's that about?
So what that about is I mentor different high schoolers who are either who just graduated this past May. I have some who are currently sophomores and juniors in high school. And so I get to meet up with them once a week, if it's just for a quick phone call or a cup of coffee. And we just talk to each other about what are your goals and how can you achieve those goals. So kind of like a high school guidance counselor.
So what do you have to say to homeschool moms out there today, some of whom may be new to homeschooling post-COVID, and they have high school age students? What do you have to say to them as far as helping their kids succeed?
Thank you, Jim. And number one, you are not failing your child by homeschooling them. You are not failing them. You are instead offering them this incredible gift, because homeschooling is a gift. And you're allowing them to truly find out what interests them, what makes them tick, what gets them excited, what are they passionate about, what can they do to make a positive impact. And so you are not failing your child by homeschooling them. Instead, you are offering them this incredible gift, and this is a gift that they're going to cherish for the rest of their life.
And especially to the folks that may be a little mystified by all of the resources that are available today, what do you have to offer them?
So it's okay to be overwhelmed. There are so many resources out there. And when my mom first started homeschooling me, when she would Google different homeschooling stuff, she might have only seen maybe 5 or 10 links pop up. And today we have over 1 million links pop up. So it just shows that homeschooling is continuing to grow and to continue to be a positive educational option. And so my advice to you is to find a homeschool association or a homeschool parent and just sit down with them and have a conversation. Learn from them and learn how can you continue to navigate this. And remember that you are not an island. You do not have to do this alone. That is what a homeschool community is for, to be able to help you narrow down what is the best possible way that I can help my child to succeed.
So when you're not running your medical software business or working for the Low Country Homeschool Association, what other things are you up to these days? You still pursuing your music?
Yes, I am, Jim. I continue to pursue my music. I continue to serve at my local church to be able to play the organ as much as I possibly can, as well as I love the handbell choir. I love all things music. I play 8 different musical instruments, so I'm very active in my musical community. I'm active in as well playing music at the local senior homes and assisted living facilities to just spread a little musical cheer to them.
If people would like to reach out to you and find out more about what you're up to, either your medical software or Low Country Homeschool, how would they find you?
The best way for them to find me is to go onto the Low Country Homeschool Association page on our website or on Facebook, and you can shoot us a message. And I would love to have a conversation with a current or future homeschool parent who just feels a little lost or needs to feel like they're not going to fail their child, because I guarantee you that homeschooling does not mean you're going to fail your child. It's going to mean that they're going to flourish. They're going to do outstanding in whatever they choose to do. If they're going to choose to become an archaeologist, they're going to be an amazing archaeologist. If they're going to choose to become a mechanic, they're going to excel in that field. Or if they choose to serve our country, they are going to do such a true honor to our homeschool world.
So where can I reach out to get a cup of enthusiasm if I need one?
Any day of the week that you want to.
Okay. Thanks once again to my guest today, Kaitlyn Bajek. You can find her at the Low Country Homeschool Association. And if, like me, you could just replay this podcast and lift your spirits anytime you need to, we really appreciate having you on today and your true enthusiasm for the life choice that your parents made and that you continue to pursue. And if you're interested in the work that we do here at Homeschool Legal Defense Association, you can find us at hslda.org. And we'd love to have you join as a member to stand with us for homeschool freedom, or donate to help us with all of the work that we do here. Once again, thanks, Kaitlyn.
Today's episode is made possible by HSLDA's Compassion Grants program. Whether it's a low-income family trying to make ends meet or a family suffering after a natural disaster, some families simply wouldn't have the resources to homeschool without the help of fellow homeschoolers like you. Our Compassion Grants exist to make this support possible. To learn more about how you can help make homeschooling possible for struggling families, or to request assistance if you are homeschooling through hard times, visit hslda.org/compassion. That's hslda.org/compassion. Thanks for listening to this episode of Homeschool Talks. If you've enjoyed this conversation, will you do us a favor by sharing it with a friend or leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts? As a reminder, you can find show notes for this episode along with our other Homeschool Talks conversations at hslda.org/podcast. And if you want to be the first to know about new episodes, as well as upcoming guests and topics, you can sign up for our email list using the link in the show notes. That's all for now. We hope you enjoyed this program, and we'll see you next time.